This is actually saying, no, you should be getting married young because it's going to lead to happier, healthier, more stable relationships in the long run.
The family tribunal.
Right.
Before the tribunal.
They're cuddled up in mommy's love sack at home, and they're just like, oh, I just don't know what to do anymore. Go get married, go have children, and start being a man.
And now it's time to consider the path of your feet, for crying out loud.
Welcome back to Salty Saints. My name is Hayden Holm, and today I am joined by a fine panel of guests. We've got with us Roy Anderson at the Iron Rodcast. Be sure to check out his channel and subscribe. We've also got Sam St. Laurent at Through the Mist. Be sure to check him out and subscribe. And the reason why I brought them on today is because I saw something float through my feed that I felt like we needed to talk about. And the reason why I brought these gentlemen on specifically is because the claim that is being made in this video, the main argument, is that we get married too young in the church. And that is, quote unquote, dangerous. So let me show the video and then we will get this party started. This gal is an active member of the church. She leans a little bit more progressive. Her channel is called Josie Unpacks It All. And she has a message about marriage that we're going to check out. So, Sam, why don't you play her message? That is very deep. She's very well spoken. So go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I couldn't handle that twice.
All right.
I apologize.
And you're a better man for it. Let's get first reactions. So we'll start with Roy, and then we'll go to Sam after that. But first, before we get to first reactions, how many takes do you think that took? And do you think that her children interrupted that? Like, first of all, if you saw your wife doing something like this in your guest bedroom or something like that, if you walked in on your wife and she was just like doing the interpretive dance, you know, with the music, but like he couldn't hear the music and you saw like a lot of moving around, what would your first thoughts be?
I honestly don't. I'd probably just draw a blank, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here. Don't worry. I'm just making something for the internet, honey.
Are you talking about my wife in 20 years from now?
Oh, wow. Sam, coming in hot. Look at that.
I mean, that's instantly what my mind went to.
There is a good point to be made here. I feel like after a certain age, you should not be allowed to post dancing videos of yourself, especially if you're a married woman, for crying out loud. I think there should be some kind of legislation around that. Maybe we could start lobbying for that. So now let's get into some of her slides that she put up while she was dancing in the background. So while she was flossing, are there any of the slides that came to your mind or anything stood out?
Well, she walked herself. So the whole video, she just walked herself in a circle because, well, I don't know why she said getting married young is dangerous. Does she explain why she said that's dangerous?
I don't think she did.
No, I don't.
She just said a big explanation there.
No, she said it was dangerous.
She says, marriage can be all the good things, pushing and growing each other while loving and supporting one another. But with the wrong people, it can be a living nightmare, which is why, like having kids, marriage shouldn't be pressured. Marriage in the faith is often taught with unrealistic ideals, and kids are not prepared for real and healthy intimacy. Just do it. It will work out, right? And then she throws out some relevant hashtags. One of these was narcissistic abuse, which I'm not sure if she was talking about the church or if she was the abuser in that scenario.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, okay, so this is why I'm saying she walked herself in a circle, because I'm assuming she's saying that do we gonna keep watching her dance right now? Because I'm
starting to get motion sick over here.
I assume she's saying that getting married young is dangerous because you can marry the wrong person and then you'll be super sad forever, right? Like that, or you'll get a divorce. But then at the end of the conversation, whatever this was, she said, that the church wants you to get married because a celestial marriage is going to last longer so you can pay the church more tithing. So I don't know what point she's trying to like. So a celestial marriage, like an eternal marriage in the temple.
So it's like a shotgun. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So she's got like a bunch of scattered thoughts.
Yeah, she's trying to say it won't last long at all. And also it will last super long. And in the super long one, the church only wants super long marriages so that we can pay them more tithing. Which whoever is spreading this tithing rumor, bro, whoever's going down this tithing rabbit hole of like the church needs so much more. Like, it's just, what do we do?
Yeah, it's a losing argument now. Yeah, it's a losing argument.
Let's see if we can figure out who this gal is. So the first things first, if you look at her channel name, the channel name is Josie Unpacks It All, which is pretty ironic because it seems like Josie is on a vacation far away.
Josie's on a vacation far away.
But she does not have to worry, because we have a virtual quorum here tonight that will help her to finish unpacking the rest of the arguments that she brought out, as a good elders quorum would do. So we are here for you, Josie. Don't worry. One of the comments, a member says, hey, I don't appreciate you making a lot of generalizations here. And to which she responded, hey, no, I'm not making generalizations. I was sealed in the temple myself. So this is a person who is saying, do as I say, not as I do. If I were a gambling man, I'd wager that she was probably one of the members that followed the church's path, raised in the church, baptized at 8, maybe served a mission, went to college, got married, sealed in the temple, and now she's enjoying the benefits of a healthy, happy, stable marriage. And she's saying, well, it did work for me. But boy, was that dangerous, and I don't recommend that for anyone else, even though I have had years and years and years and years of a healthy, happy relationship and probably had kids within that.
Well, another thing someone said right here is like, not straight out of high school, boys are all leaving on missions. Is that not true? Like, is that not true? So is he saying that's just targeting women to get married to older men that have returned from the like? I just don't. I got married to my wife because I love my wife. I didn't get married to my wife because like my bishop was like, son, it's about time. It's about time you hitch yourself to a wagon and start a towing.
That's right.
It's like, I got married to my wife because I was like, hey, this is the person that I love. And that's what I was taught my whole life. Like, find someone that you can take to the temple and that you will cherish and love forever. I don't know what. Sorry, that's terrible.
How dare you, Roy? All right, so let me share my screen. Okay. I usually don't do this. Did you? But it seems like Josie needed some help unpacking. And the inner Elders Quorum presidency member, it was coming out. It was just like, all right, let me help you with this. So we are going to help her with all of her things, and we're going to unpack this. So argument 1, marriage is a necessary step to salvation, which is one of the cards. So now this is really important. Let's unpack this. The survey says no. Marriage is not essential for salvation. This may come across as nitpicking, but for a channel that says let's unpack it all, I feel like that may come across as a little disingenuous if she did know. But if she didn't, we're here to help. So survey says no, because as in Adam all die, so in Christ all shall be made alive. All men are going to be resurrected, regardless of marital status. We are all saved. We're all saved. But I think she was probably referring to exaltation. And we learned that marriage is essential to obtain the highest degree of the celestial kingdom and exaltation, to inherit the glory that God has himself. Okay, so marriage is essential for that. It is not essential for salvation. That may seem minor, but it's actually big, because salvation is huge. It applies to everybody throughout time. And
and it is. I mean, it is like one of those things where if you're gonna try to tell the world like this is what Mormons believe, and you can't make a difference between salvation and exaltation, then you're not. I don't like that's a very basic doctrine. Yeah, you're not really qualified to be like.
Well, Christians will read that and take it very, very differently. So Christians would look at that and say like, whoa, everyone is saved. Jesus has saved everybody.
Yep.
Oh, Sam, did you have a point or?
Well, no, they'll do that thing. They'll they'll stop the video and be like, "Oh, salvation."
Hold up, yeah,
yeah, that meme
That's
or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's true. Like, she doesn't understand. And that's the thing is like, when you make content like this, if you don't understand the words that you're using and the implications of your audience, your target audience, then you can run into these like weird things where like people will start to comment like, oh yeah, I didn't know that. Like, thanks for letting me know that. And like, it's like, oh yeah, you're welcome.
Right.
And you feel like
so
a little
you're
bit like
misinforming people's worldviews.
Yeah.
Which is
while thinking that,
like, if they don't know
that
about
you
the church.
understand your own worldview, which at times perhaps you might not. And so,
Right.
that could be a problem.
So we do believe in salvation, and we do also believe in exaltation. So wanted to make that abundantly clear. All right, argument number 2. Making eternal decisions young is incredibly dangerous, especially if Christ never taught this. Okay, so that I feel like is the argument she was making. Let's unpack that a little bit. We were talking about exaltation. So she just referenced exaltation and marriage from the Doctrine and Covenants. And we also, from the Doctrine and Covenants, learned that if by my voice or the voice of my prophet, it is the same. So we believe that the words in D and C come straight from the Savior himself. So this would be something that the Savior taught himself. Now, I believe she probably meant like this isn't recorded anywhere in the New Testament. So let's unpack that a little bit. Did Jesus ever talk about marriage? And we read in Matthew 19, and he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. Well, I'm looking at this with my Blue's Clues pad. It sounds like Jesus taught about marriage. It sounds like this is something that he taught. So there's the final unpacking of that argument. Let's keep going. Is getting married young dangerous? All right. So this is the other piece of the argument that she was saying. All right. If it's dangerous, apparently it wasn't dangerous for her because she was sealed in the temple. I'm not 100% sure. So maybe we'll say she got married at an older age. And maybe that's why she's doing the TikToks now. Maybe she did meet her husband recently. Maybe she's still in the TikTok habit, and maybe that's how she found her husband. So that could very well be the case. I think what she was trying to say is the church doesn't do a very good job at teaching youth how to date. And this is something that I've actually seen, and this is something that I would actually agree with. So the idea of checkbox dating, this is something I've seen, and we should probably do an entire episode, just a cultural call out on that, where there are segments of members. For women, they'll say, I need an RM, 6 foot, and a 6-figure salary, something like that. And they're like, as long as I get those 3 things, great, I'm done. Boom, we're going to get married, or RM 6 foot at least. And then they go from there and they're like, all right, let's make it happen. And they believe falsely that if a man serves a mission, he must be on the straight and narrow. This man is basically a prophet, which I wish that were the case, but it seems like a lot of girls begin to understand what I came to understand in my second transfer, that not all missionaries are great people. That turns out that there are some missionaries out there that don't have it going on.
I've known too many elders to be like, oh, they're all perfect. I know myself. Like,
I think it's a good starting point, though.
Sure.
It's a great starting point.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your homework. So there's this term in business called your due diligence. So if you're about to acquire a business, you have to do your due diligence, which means you get all of the financial statements. You have to look at the balance sheet. You have to look at the income statement. You have to look at their books, and you have to say, all right, what's their income looking like? Where's their revenue at? What are their expenses? What kind of debt do they have? What contracts do they have? How do they operate? And if you go in there and you find out that on paper, these guys look great, but you understand that their processes are a complete mess and they're like one contract away from bankruptcy, you might take a step back and say, I'm going to find another business to purchase. And that would be great. And this is something that I want members to really, really learn, is how to do your due diligence when you're dating. Now, is this a church thing or is this a family thing? Like, let me get my Italian mustache. Is this a you problem or is this a church a problem? Let's see what the church taught. So Spencer W. Kimball said, selecting a companion for life and eternity, certainly the most careful planning and thinking and praying and fasting should be done to be sure that all these decisions, this one must not be wrong. In true marriage, there must be a union of minds as well as of hearts. Emotions must not wholly determine decisions, but the mind and heart, strengthened by fasting and prayer and serious consideration, will give one a maximum chance of marital happiness. So the church is coming out saying, you have to be super, super careful about this. This is big. So the church is actually agreeing with her when they're saying, you have big consequences if you don't make this decision carefully. I'm being led to think that this is more of a cultural or a familial thing. There are families out there that are like, hey, just if they're RM, that's good enough for me. You know, they'll all be great. But there are other families that I've known where the family will not allow their daughter or their son to marry someone unless the entire family approves of that person. That seems pretty crazy. But I've known a couple families that did that. One family, I will tell you a story. There was one time, there's this family that my wife knows up in Canada. They did that. They were like, hey, this guy, their son, he was dating this gal. He was excited. He was about to propose. He talked to his dad. His dad's like, okay, bring her before the family. So he brought her before the family, and everyone in the family gave their opinion. And the majority opinion was, we don't like you. We don't think you're going to be a good fit for this family. So the son, listening to his father, decided to break off the engagement. Well, 6 months after that, she left the church. She started getting heavy into like substance abuse and stuff like that. And she just completely went off the rails. And I was sitting there like, man, maybe I should start thinking about this approach. Like, whoo, it seems like wisdom crept into the minds of the parents and the older generation. And they said, ooh, I'm seeing some red flags that maybe you're not seeing with your rose-colored glasses right now. And maybe you should pay attention to this and that. Oh, go ahead.
I think you're onto something, Hayden, but I think it has more to do with like the family counseling aspect. Like your family's counseling together, which is a lot different than like the family tribunal. Bring her before the tribunal.
Well, I know when I was dating my wife, I talked to my parents constantly about things that I was seeing and things that maybe could be red flags, and you know what to look for. How could I identify a red flag? And like I felt very confident in my decision after actually like praying, fasting, studying, and talking to my parents, my siblings about the decision. So it's definitely not like, I just think she does have a point there. If you are doing it the way she apparently did it, or is saying we do it, where you're just like diving into a marriage because you think you just should, you know what? Like I can agree there. Like, I don't think that is correct. I think you should definitely, pursue marriage carefully and consciously, but at the same time, maybe I'm gonna get canceled for this, I think it is our duty to get married quicker than slower, I guess you could say. Like look for and prepare yourself to be married. Now that might not happen for a while, but at least look for a spouse and prepare yourself to be able to be a spouse, you know? That's what God wants us to do.
And that leads to the second question. So the first is like, do we have a dating problem in the church? I would argue culturally, I've seen a dating problem in the church. Yes, I have seen a lot of members that do the whole met and then proposed in 1 week. Like didn't know each other. 1 week later, they were engaged. And while sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. I would probably err on the side of caution because it is, as we learned from our church leaders, that this is pretty serious. It's a big deal. So what about getting married young? So she seemed to be making a big stink that these are people right out of high school. So she was framing it a little disingenuously. Maybe she was just talking about the women. Like there are women that are getting right out of high school that are getting married. And so I can see it from that angle. But for men, most men are serving missions in the church. And so there are a lot of men that will go out, they'll serve missions. And I tell you what, there's a huge difference between a boy that has served a mission and someone who just graduated high school. Like there's a lot of life that you live in those 2 years. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone who serves a mission is going to take away that experience. Like there are still some idiots out there that are going to just completely miss all the lessons that a mission could teach you. But for the missionaries that make the most out of their mission, they come back, they're seasoned. They've seen a lot of really crazy things. They have seen the pathway of a lot of different people's feet and they've seen where those pathways lead. They've seen homelessness, they've seen drug abuse, they've seen broken homes, they've seen single mothers, they've seen all of it, and they see where that leads. That can really shape your worldview and help you figure out what's actually true and what's wrong, what's just marketing versus what's reality. There was another study that I wanted to point out. This is from the Institute for Family Studies. It says research indicates that religious individuals who marry in their 20s without cohabitating first have the lowest divorce rates in America, challenging the idea that young marriage inherently leads to instability. So it seems like this is completely coming right against her claim that if you get married young, it's silly, it's foolish. You should not be getting married young. This is actually saying, no, you should be getting married young because it's going to lead to happier, healthier, more stable relationships in the long run. Sam, you are nodding your head over there like a Bob Marley bobblehead. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, so I fit this criteria perfectly. Like I got married at 19. My wife was 18. We were very young. And I think there's something
22.
about there's something about getting married young. I think in comparison to like some of my friends I've seen who got married in like their late 20s, early 30s. My life was already started. I was already, I wasn't cohabitating with somebody. I was actually married to them. So we're actually working in almost a unison towards an end. And I think it jump started my life. I think a lot quicker. And actually, I think it matured me a lot faster than those around me. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that like you just have to deal with a lot of these things earlier on, knowing that you can't just easily, it's not like you're dating somebody, so you can't just easily just like break it off. And so I don't know, at least that's what I saw with my life. Yeah.
Like it adds a big load of responsibility onto your shoulders and it gives you traction in your life. And that's exactly what young men in their 20s need. There were some comments in there that were from ladies that were saying, I wait till my son's brains are fully developed so that I can give them time to go to college, so that they can travel the world, so that they can take a leap year and find themselves. No, you don't need that. You don't need to find yourself. The problem is, the thing that I've noticed, because I got married young as well. So I was 22 when I got married, and what I have seen, and we're coming up on 11 or 12 years of marriage. I can't remember. It's been so long. But first of all, I had $0 in my bank account. So $0. I had like a hair in my eye and a gleam on my chest when we got married. Okay. And we got married. So I knew
furniture.
I knew that she was not marrying me for my money. I knew that she was not marrying me for any of my fancy cars or anything like that. Like I knew that she actually loved me and was marrying me for me. And that's a great place to start off a marriage. So the other thing that I learned is that while we got married young, our brains finished developing together. And so we started to grow into one person. We started to think alike. We started to act more like each other. And now we are so in sync that we completely understand each other because we finished those formational years together. And I think that's really, really powerful. And I would wager that's probably one of the reasons why these couples have lower divorce rates, is because they get along way better than someone who has already finished baking that brain, who's already built up a big career, who's already got a huge bank account, that looks at someone approaching them and saying, hey, I want to impose my lifestyle on you. And you're always going to have that question in the back of your mind, like, am I marrying you just for your money? Should I get a prenup? There are other questions that are going to come when you have more of a lifestyle developed. Now, I'm not coming out saying that's terrible and that you should never do that. I am saying that there is this ideal, and I think the church is looking at this ideal, and that studies are backing it up, saying, yes, it is a good thing to get married young because it's going to lead to healthier, happier couples that produce healthier, happier children, lead to healthier, happier communities and societies at large.
Well, and I think that there's like another thing. These are like fancy words to get away from what's actually happening. Like when people go, you need to deconstruct your religious trauma or whatever. What they're really saying is learn how to be the victim. That's what they're saying. Learn how to be victimized. Victimize yourself so much that you can blame someone else. When someone says, I want my son, or I want to be able to find myself before I marry someone else, what you're saying is, I want to learn how to be happy alone. And that isn't, if you learn how to be happy alone, you're not going to be happy with somebody else. That's not like, if you can't have your cake and eat it too with that kind of thing. I know so many people, like I'm 25 right now, and I got married at 24, and I have some buddies that are older than me, 27, 28, they're not married, or they just got married, and it was tough for them because all of a sudden they couldn't just go play pickup basketball on a Wednesday night. All of a sudden they couldn't just go drop $700 on a pair of shoes. All of a sudden there was this responsibility they had to take in, and they hated it, and it caused so much contention in their family. And then they started like, they had to deconstruct. They had to figure out how to take apart that part of them and be like, oh, I don't need to spend $700 on these shoes. And if I can, I need to agree on it with my spouse. And my money that I make isn't just my money anymore. I'm sharing that money. In fact, I'm not sharing my money. It's our money. And so many problems like that always seem to come up. Whereas, like you said, when I got married, just like a year and a half ago, my wife and I both just had nothing. And now every penny we earn together now, we're like, hey, we have something together, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, exactly.
To the east side. Yeah, 100%.
And
just
it's
like
a good
the Jeffersons.
time. It's a blast. I just did a video on my Instagram where I said, or I think it might just be on my TikTok, but I'm like, if you're worried about going on a mission, just freaking go, bro. And if you're worried about getting married, just freaking look for your wife and get married, bro. Like, it's worth it. I promise you. But we have to remember where the foundation here is. And that is Jesus Christ. Like, if you're getting married for alternative motives where you're not trying to pursue God, I do think that, that you can run into problems there. Because I know people that have gotten married because they're like, I just couldn't keep the law of chastity anymore, so I had to. You're like, all right, well, we gotta figure out how to level that out. Or it was just like, oh, I was just bored, or like people have done that,
right?
And I'm like,
right,
what?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you look at what that responsibility does to you. It immediately gives you traction. Immediately, it turns you into an adult because life immediately stops becoming completely about you. And now you have to start thinking like, oh, crap, it's no longer about me. Like, I can be an idiot. I can go live in my truck. I don't need to eat anything much more than ramen, and I don't need to decorate. Dude. I don't need clothes. I don't need any of that. I could just
one spoon, one fork, one plate.
100%. Yeah. I can go get my plasma money and I can live off of that for probably like a week, 2 weeks. I'm great. But as soon as you get married, it's like, oh, crap, I got to raise the bar. Like, I'm not enough. I got to be better.
Another thing is, like, I only need to be smooth or be a gentleman with every Friday night. That's when I go on my dates, and that's the only time I really need to be like, that kind of guy, that caliber. Yeah, when you get married, bro, you gotta be that caliber all day, every day. It don't stop.
All the time. But also, it means that you have to go find a job, which means that you have to be responsible enough to hold down the job, which means that you have to be able to show up on time. You have to be able to execute. You have to be competent, and you have to be able to ascend the hierarchy, and provide more and more to make way for a growing family, which puts a lot on the shoulders of the dad. And I think societies want that. They want people that are going to check into the local community. They want people that are going to check into their jobs and that are going to say, I'm going to do my best for my family. I've got a reason now. I've got a why. Yep. And you always see those like college kids that are like, I'm just going to traipse around Europe and I'm just going to go try and find myself, And those are the same kids that get wrecked with mental issues like left, right, and center. They've got depression. They're so anxious all the time. They're cuddled up in mommy's love sack at home and they're just like, oh, I just don't know what to do anymore. It's like, go get married, go have children, and start being a man, go get a job, start getting a house, get into society. So, and that's the stuff. That's what I'm saying. So this is what marriage does when you're young. You want more 20-year-olds that are married than you want 20-year-olds that are out stressing out, playing video games in mom's basement, trying to figure out, why they feel so anxious. Like, you got to get them all the way out of their heads. You got to say, all right, go get married. A wife will keep you in check. A wife will keep you grounded. You got to go find your other half and she will help you. And you guys finish growing together. You go through highs together. You go through lows together. You both start figuring out life together. And it's really, it leads you to a beautiful place where you both start becoming a more responsible unit as a family. And it's a blessing to society.
Amen.
There it is.
I love that soapbox.
Well,
That's great.
It's the kids aspect too, right? Because you like you guys are talking about, like the willingness to achieve, right? To provide for your family. When you do that young, like if you're having 5 or 6 kids between 19 and whatever 27, like if you're having like year after year, like you're really going to have to figure out how to stretch your dollar, right? Because you're probably not making that much in that age bracket, right? Coming straight out of college, assuming you have one person that's providing, if your husband is. So he's having to figure out how to achieve quicker, right? Climb the corporate ladder or whatever ladder that there is for him to climb. But interestingly enough, you're doing that at that young age. But your kids, if you think about it, let's just give them about 20 years, right? So now you got 20 years of, raising these kids. We'll say 26, right? Because you get to wait for the youngest to get out. But now how old are you? You're like, what, 30 something? No. Closer
50,
to 40.
48.
You're like low 40s.
Maybe?
You're low 40s. Your kids are all out of the house. You probably have a good amount of money because you figured out how to budget by then, right? Because you've had to.
Right.
And
because if you don't, you die.
And now you're seeing the world at 40
with your wife.
What 20?
With
and that's
your wife.
With your wife. With somebody who
with your wife. Yeah.
But that's why I never understood about this whole argument. Like, oh, see the world. Go to the clubs. It's like when you're in your 20s or in your 18, 19, 20, 21, through mid 20s, you don't have any money to do that. Like you're essentially scrounging unless you hit the floor running, right? But
or unless you come from that old time Utah money, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Bob.
But you're really not enjoying. I don't think. I honestly, I'd be hard pressed to believe that you're really enjoying a lot of those like vacation trips or whatever.
Well, the thing is, you don't have money, but you have energy. And the other thing to consider is if you have a lot of little kids. I'm in the prime of my life, and I have never been more exhausted in my entire life. Like, it is so exhausting. I could not imagine having kids any later than I did. And I started really young. Like, it is taking the life right out of me. Happily so. Like, I'm happy to do it. The kids are great. It does take a ton of time and energy. And if you start having kids, like if you wait till you're 30, till everything's all calmed down before you start having kids, first of all, that's going to limit the amount of kids that you can have. But also, you're going to be that much more wrecked when the kids grow up. Like, it's going to take so much life out of you. It just sucks it right out of you.
Unless that's what keeps you youthful.
It does. It's
keeps you
a
on your
gift and a
toes.
curse.
It's
like it keeps me super young.
Of youth.
Yeah, it keeps me super young because like right before this call, I was playing with a little Nerf war with my oldest son. Like I was diving through couches. Like I got him, and so I mean it keeps me young and playful. But at the same time, like my baby today woke up, threw up all over the mattress, and then his older sister in the bunk bed above her, like completely blew out. She got sick and she just blew out all over her bed too. And so like that's what ages me. I'm like, oh man. So it's a beautiful combination of the two. But it keeps you responsible for crying out loud.
Hey, wait, are we trying to convince people to get married young, or what are we doing right now, Hayden? What do we go? What's happening?
100%. Get married young and have a lot of kids young. Yeah. That's where you figure out what true love is. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's when, like, if your wife comes down, she's just like, hey, she's got throw up all over her. And she's just like, hey, can you help me with these kids? Like, that one just blew out his diaper. It's going all over the walls and stuff. Like, all right, yeah, this is love. That's where you figure it out. It's not like I have $500,000 in my bank account. That's why I'm now more attractive to you. Like, that's not love. She's gunning after you for security, financial stability, and once that money runs out, the love runs out. But if you get married and you have nothing, then you have nowhere else to go but up.
Yes. Yeah, that was awesome.
100%. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's keep this wagon train moving. So we got one more argument. Argument 3. The church pressures members into marriage so they can make pure, hard cash. That is in like stocks and bonds. It's a quote from Jonathan Harris. Traumatized by being too popular
cash.
and hardworking. Hard cash in stocks and bonds and stuff like that.
Hey, if you haven't watched that video, go watch that video. Okay, that's a
we're
funny
going to
video.
plug that video. Yeah. Our video reacting to Johnny Harris. We actually take down all of those claims. And so I'm going backwards here. So let's take this argument out of the stalls and ride it for a little bit. Okay. So if the church was a corrupt organization, completely focused on just making money, what would we expect to see? I would say we would expect to see a large percentage of their total income coming from tithing. If the whole goal was just, we need more tithe payers, I would probably wager that would be their main focus. And then the second, you'd probably see a smoking gun, a person or people glutting themselves in a completely significant way compared to the rest of the finances that the church has, So let's see if that holds up. So this is from a non-friendly income estimate. So this is from Johnny Harris's video. I just took a little screenshot of this because the church doesn't release their financial records, but Jonathan, he makes millions of dollars every year. So he hired people to create some estimates. This is the estimate from a non-friendly source who has more reason than any to blow this up and to make the church look as bad as possible. This is the total percentage. This sliver right here represents tithing income. You see that black box? That's tithing. So I would say that's pretty insignificant in comparison to their investments and the money that they make from their operations. So when it comes to that argument that like this is all tithing, that the church makes all of its money from tithing, it only makes up an insignificant portion in relation to the rest of the money that they're making of revenue, total income. Go ahead.
Hold up. Are you telling me that the church isn't getting rich off the tithing of broke 22-year-old couples? Is that what you're telling me right now? I refuse to believe it. They have $300 billion because all us 24, 25-year-old young married couples are pumping money into the church, baby.
Yeah.
That $6 I was giving them for my plasma money. Yeah. That was going straight into President Nelson's car payment.
Yeah. Paying a tithing, and I quote, on that meager stipend. You guys know who I'm
the meager. That's right. The meager stipend.
The meager stipend.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the other graph that Jonathan gave us. This is an estimate for expenses. So non-friendly estimate for church expenses. He did consider reinvestments as an expense, but most people outside the church, most people in the normal world would not consider that an expense at all. So we look at operations, education, member aid, humanitarian, all of that. Where is the smoking gun? Where is the jumbo jet with President Nelson's face on it or President Oak's face on it? Where is the Uber mega mansion that was completely paid from tithing? Where is it? I don't see it. And the thing is that you have to realize, if there were a smoking gun, the first people to jump all over that smoking gun and blast it all over the internet would be anti-members, ex-members. They would point to it, just like Kenneth Copeland's huge, massive hangar of like 14 private jets and his mega mansion and all of his properties. They would do the same thing with that. They would say, hey, look at all these. This is all coming from tithing money. We have the receipts. We can track it all back. Because they're just making these vague, slippery claims, it tells you that's the best they've got. There is no smoking gun.
Yeah, this is as bad as they can get, that the church invests money.
Right. That the church is actually fiscally responsible and that they actually outperform most people when it comes to their fiduciary responsibility to the tithe payers. So really, really well done. So those are the main arguments that we saw from that dance compilation. I'm sure that we probably spent 10 times more time than she did in putting that entire argument together. But I thought it was important and I thought it was necessary because it's easy to get out there and just start blasting a bunch of generalizations. But the problem is other denominations, other people might view those and start just taking that for gospel truth. And it's important that we get messages out there like this that show you, no, there's actually a little bit more to unpack than what Josie did. But I hope she's having fun on her vacation far away.
Josie's on a vacation far away.
Sam, you just
I
said the
don't know.
link. What is that link for?
Oh yeah, what? Yeah.
Just the lavish luxury lifestyle that our leaders live.
Is it President
on
Nelson vacuuming? Please tell me it's President Nelson vacuuming.
Let's see this.
Please tell me. Yes, sirree, Bob. Yes, sirree, Bob. That's the greatest of all time right there.
President Nelson vacuuming. Look at that.
In his apartment.
In his apartment, bro.
His bare
There
bones
we go.
apartment.
In his mansion.
If I remember correctly,
a vacuum from the 1950s. Yeah.
Which unfortunately the church still uses like this weird vacuum brand. I don't know why they do it. It's beside the point.
It's really heavy.
If I'm not mistaken, the one, like, if we're going to talk monetary, the one monetarily high value item that he has in his apartment was his grand piano, his baby grand, which he plays the piano. So like that was his like one thing. Everything else looked pretty bare bones from what I could see. So
very bare bones. And do we think that he may have been able to afford that from his prestigious career as a heart surgeon, a world-renowned heart surgeon, one of the only heart surgeons that was ever allowed to operate on a famous opera singer in China? He got like a national recognition medal from the government of China for the surgery that he performed out there. Like, I'm going to wager, if I were a gambling man, I'd wager that he probably could afford that piano.
And going back to marriage, President Nelson graduated high school at 16, graduated college before he was 20, and was married around that time and was doing like heart surgeries. He was inventing things for heart surgeries by the time he was like 24, 25. I don't think getting married early was the issue. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have an issue, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think getting married early made it so he couldn't get to know himself, find himself.
Totally. I totally agree with that. So for those reasons, we are calling this sister, rather, to consider the path of her feet. One of the things that I want her to understand, like, let's look at the path that she's on right now. So she is dancing in her guest bedroom right now, blasting out false generalizations about the church. And I look at that pathway right now, and it seems like she is viewing the church through the lens of an oppressor, and that there is a victim structure, so that she is a victim. And let's look at the other people who have taken that path and see where it has led them. All right. So let's look at anti-member Dr. Julie Hanks, or is she definitely not an anti-member Dr. Julie Hanks?
Oh, yeah.
So
she
that's
doesn't
led her
she doesn't
out
identify.
of the church. She's divorced, out of the church, living her best life, going on the Girls Camp podcast. Alyssa Grenfell. So she also takes that same strategy and approach of the church as an oppressor, and there are oppressed people, there are victims there. She still happily married, from what I could tell, but is now chained to the algorithm. And then we have life coach Dr. John DeLynn, who is hosting Mormon Stories now, doing the same thing. There are a handful of other anti and exmo accounts out there that are preaching this same message. And where has it led them? I would say about half, or maybe a little bit more than half, are divorced. Also, that AI model lady who was like, blame it all on someone. I can't remember, Stephanie or something like that.
Yeah,
blame it on Stephanie.
Name. Yeah,
it's her generic name here.
Yeah,
yeah.
and so like we're talking divorce, we're talking leaving the church, we're talking kids going to frat parties and stuff like that. It's really destructive to you. It's destructive to your family. So for that reason, we're saying maybe consider the path of your feet, because it's going to lead you to a not a very good place. So to wrap this up, let's do our own version of a dance battle. We're going to make sure that we'll sub some cool music in there. We'll get some generalizations going on the screen. But in the meantime, just... we like to have fun on the show.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Can I say something before we take off? Is that
for sure?
Can we?
Absolutely, take it away.
If you're a young man watching this, and marriage is not there for you at the top of your goals, you should put it there And then second off, if marriage is at the top of your goals and you are still playing like 6 hours of video games a day and you're not going to the temple and you're not reading your scriptures and you've the last time you cut your hair, who knows, and you smell like BO all the time or your shirts don't fit you anymore and they have stains on you, you can't expect God to throw a pearl, your future wife, to swine. So if you are a swine, get out of the mud, baby. You want the pearl, stop being a swine. I just want to say that. Because sometimes people say, well, make the goal and it'll happen. No, brethren, make the goal and then own your priesthood responsibilities, and then it will happen. God doesn't throw pearl to swine. He doesn't do it. It's not his thing.
It sounds like you had a lot of really smelly roommates. Is that right?
I was the smelly roommate. I'm trying to help them not be me, bro.
Okay.
I'm trying to help them get out of where I was at, bro.
Awesome.
Look at that. How charitable. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Also, if you are trying to get married, if you're a young man out there, you're trying to get married, you don't know where to go for help, or you want some guidance or some wisdom, or you're in a dead elders quorum that's not doing anything, come to dadsneedfriends.com and you will find a bunch of dads that got married young, and they can guide you through the whole process. Bunch of guys that are married. So that's dadsneedfriends.com, dadsneedfriends.com. Till next time, my name is Hayden Holm. We got Roy Anderson at the Iron Rodcast. We got Sam St. Laurent at Through the Mist. Be sure to check them out. This is Salty Saints. We'll see you.